Have you ever come across those people that say, I'll sleep when I'm dead, or have given you a little bit of hassle because you want 8 hours sleep? And say, oh, you're never going to make a success out of it if you want 8 hours sleep. Because I understand the simple logic to that. Absolutely, I do. I understand the simple logic. But I have to push back on as far as if you are someone that is saying, I'll sleep when I'm dead, and you are consistently depriving yourself of sleep, you have to understand that the day in which you die is getting closer and closer if you keep depriving yourself of sleep. The other people that say, you're not going to be as productive if you don't, if you get 8 hours sleep, because you're missing out on these work hours. We know that you're not as productive if you are sleep deprived. We know that sleep deprivation affects your emotional volatility. We know that sleep deprivation impacts your decision making. We know that sleep deprivation impacts your diet choices, which then impact your mood and stability. We know that sleep deprivation impacts your immune system, and therefore chances are you'll get sick more often, or you're increasing the chances of you getting sick, and you're increasing your chances of getting sicker for longer, and therefore you're not as productive. So when people say that, push back against them. Now, I'm not saying, and the other thing that people say is that it's from 12 until 8. If you sleep until 8, that's 2 hours of work time that you've missed. Or you'll see it in America where they'll say if you wake up at 8 o'clock on the west coast, then it's already 10 o'clock on the east coast, and therefore you're missing out on prime working hours. But I would say to those people, what's stopping you sleeping from 10 until 6 in the morning? Then you can get up, and then it's 8 on the east coast. And I know that we all have our own circadian rhythms. We all have our own biological clock. But what people have got to understand is work with your biological clock, and understand that through all human evolution, we have kept the most vulnerable state that we could possibly be in, i.e. sleeping, unconscious, so vulnerable to predators, and we have kept it. So you have to understand that sleep is absolutely fundamental to your health, and your health will dictate how effective you can be to a certain extent. And so you have to understand that, and of course there are genetic outliers, the people that can function on 5 hours sleep. But we don't know enough about what it does to them long term in order to say that that is still healthy. We know that 7 to 9 hours is healthy. We know that 7 to 9 hours allows you to get good quality sleep. I'm not saying you are getting good quality sleep in those 7 to 9 hours, because people living in the city, people living with lots of light, artificial light around them, that 7 to 9 hours is probably not the most optimized sleep that you can get. And if it means that, and don't forget, there are certain clues in it. Midnight is meant to be middle of the night. So if you're going to bed at middle of the night, then understand when you wake up in the morning, you might not be in the best physical form, best psychological form that you could be in. Now, everybody has their own circadian rhythm. That is true. And if you are a night owl, then the working world is going against you, because you will find that your productivity goes up. And that, there are genetic markers that code for night owls compared to morning larks. I'm lucky enough in as far as I'm a morning lark. I will get up at 6 and I'll go out and I'll be productive in the morning. It come evening time, I'm really not that good for anything. And so I'd like to be in bed by 11. I'd like to be asleep by 11 pretty much, which gets in the way of some social activities. But I've learned to live with that, and I feel so much better because of that. Now, I'm not saying that you are exactly the same, but until you try it and you understand as to what you are, you might be fighting against yourself. And remember, we're still the only species that voluntarily deprives ourselves of sleep. Our kind of number one regulator of health. We do so much good in our sleep. So why the hell would anybody want to not do that? How are we so arrogant in our own understanding, or our own lack of understanding, that we can just deprive ourselves of sleep? I don't understand that. Sleep, as I've said many times before, has to be a fundamental, has to be an absolute pillar of your health and well-being. And I mean that in as far as light as well. I mean sleep, so I mean darkness. Your circadian rhythm has to be the pillar from which you build all else. Because if you're not, like for example, I read a paper yesterday or the day before about lack of REM sleep changing your nutrition habits. We know that sleep deprivation changes nutrition habits. So if you're on a diet, or if you're trying to eat healthier and you're getting lack of sleep, you are making it so much harder by not prioritizing sleep. Prioritize sleep, get enough sleep, get the right kind of sleep, and then go on your diet. And what you'll find is that eating process, that change in your eating habits to a healthier one, I hope, actually becomes a little bit easier. Why? Because the cravings are slightly more lessened. You have better decision making ability because you're getting the right amount of sleep. Your blood sugar control is better because you're getting the right amount of sleep. And so we need to go back to basics and just say, okay, sleep is going to be the fundamental point from which I build all else. And once we do that, other things become easier. Even exercise and finding the motivation to get out and exercise. If your motivation levels are up because you slept well, if your energy levels are up because you slept well and the melatonin was able to get in there and become the antioxidant that it is, and repair the oxidative damage from the day before, then you'll have more energy, more motivation, and better decision making to go and do work. Your everyday, your NEAT, your non-exercise thermogenesis will be up because you'll have more energy, have more motivation, and your body will just generally move more, and you'll have the motivation to move more. You'll make the right decisions with food. You'll be emotionally more stable. You'll be cognitively more aware. You'll make better decisions. So financially, and in terms of working, you'll make better decisions. Do you see how it has to be the foundation of your work has to be that sleep, that circadian rhythm, because it leads into everything else. Anyway, it was just because I saw a post that said, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And then there were people saying about, you're not making a success if you are sleeping 8 hours a day. And I think that is crap. I think people need to actually utilize their sleep and become better sleepers. Not become more sleepers, but become better sleepers. Understand circadian rhythm, understand circadian biology, understand sleep biology, and go from there. If you're interested in it, I highly recommend a book called Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker. It might change your mind on how important sleep is. If I'm not changing your mind, then he might. It's a good book. Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker. Anyway, have a great day. Get out into the light. I have been out on my morning walk. I've been to the sauna. I've had cold water facial immersion. I've had red light.